we're moving on to the hypothesis. A hypothesis is just a guess about what the answer might be about the question. So, students, we have the question of why is the water colder on the left-hand side of the map and warmer on the right-hand side of the map? I want you to make the guesses. Guess what the answer to that question is. And don't be worried about crazy answers, crazy guesses, because the strange thing about science is sometimes the crazy answer is the right answer. Thank you very much, Heather. We do have some more scientists up here, and these are some scientists from the Western Washington University that have been asking questions about some aspects of our bay. I'd like to introduce Adria Banks.
Hi.
And Katie Luxa. And the two of you have been doing some research about seals, I understand.
That's right.
Well, students in our classroom, you've probably been curious about seals too. Now, Adria and Katie, I want to thank you very much for being here today and talk about your science project following the scientific method. First, of course, we have observations. Tell us about your observation, Adria.
Well, that's right, Alex. A lot of times also in science, it's a collaborative process. That means we share our information. So I can use observations made by other scientists to then ask questions and make hypotheses. So by work done by other researchers, we know that harbor seals spend about half of their time on land and half of their time in the ocean or in the water.
What do you call that when they're on the land?
We call that hauling out, and they do that to rest, but also to have their pups and nurse their pups.
Interesting observation. I'd like to see that. And what observations were you working with, Katie?
Well, again, as Adria mentioned, I'm also looking at observations that other researchers have made, and we know that harbor seals like to eat fish, and they'll also eat things like squid and octopus.
Very interesting. Now, these observations have undoubtedly led you to some questions.
That's true. So I said that harbor seals spend about half of their time on land and half of their time in the water. But that's an average. So over the span of a year, maybe they spend more time in the spring on land and more time in the fall in the water.
Okay, that's an interesting question. And Katie, what sort of questions came from your observation?
Well, not much is known about what harbor seals eat in this region, especially in Padilla Bay. So for my project, I'm wondering, what are they eating and how much are they eating?
All right, interesting. Now, Adria, you said your question involved these things about the seals moving around and hauling out. What hypothesis did you come up with to test?
Well, another thing about the natural history of harbor seals is that once a year they shed their hair. And when they do that, they need to spend more time on land. And in this area, that happens in the fall. Other researchers have found that they spend more time in the fall when they're molting or shedding their hair out on land. So I expected to see something similar here in Padilla Bay, with more seals being on land in the autumn.
So your hypothesis is?
That there will be more seals on land in September.
Okay, interesting. And Katie, your question was about what they eat and your hypothesis?
Well, we also know from previous research that harbor seals really like what's most abundant in the region where they're finding food. So my hypothesis is that harbor seals are going to be eating whatever's most abundant at a given time.
Okay, getting back to the scientific method then, Heather, you are going to look at what the next step of the scientific method is. That would be prediction, I believe. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Heather, for coming in here. Yep, we've got prediction next.
Well, in order to find out what harbor seals are eating, one of the easiest ways to do this is to collect harbor seal fecal samples. And for animals, we call that scat.
I see, scat, fecal. I've heard that word before in this program. Fecal coliform. We're talking poop, right?
That's right.
Okay. Thanks, Katie.
You're welcome. And
Well-
I have some with me if you'd like to see it.
Oh, we would very much.
Okay.
We'll have to get the camera in close for this.
All right.
Tell us what you have, Katie.
This is a sample that I collected here in Padilla Bay in June. And this was collected from a haul out where seals were hanging out in the sunshine, and I was able to get this sample. And I collect it in these small bags. And then later on, I'll process them, and what that means is I'm gonna get rid of all the stuff that we don't want. All the smelly stuff.
Okay, how do you get rid of the smelly stuff?
Well, we rinse them through sieves. Or a new method that people are using is to put them in special bags and put them in a washing machine.
A washing machine, you mean like
Yeah.
a clothes washer?
Yeah, but you probably don't want to use clothes and put the clothes in there after you put the fecal samples in there. I wouldn't recommend that.
It's a special lab
That's
equipment
right.
at that
That's
point.
right.
All right, so what happens, what does it look like after you put them through the washing machine?
Well, after we go through the processed samples,
We'll hold it nice and steady there.
sure. After we process the samples, we'll dry them because they'll be a little wet, and we put them in these vials. And all the bones that are in here, we can use those to identify the types of fish or the species of fish, or also the species of squid and octopus that they're eating.
Oh, and so what sort of things are you looking for in the sample there?
Well, there's all sorts of things in here like vertebrae and other bones that are found in fish heads, but there's one that I'm really interested in.
What are you looking for, Katie?
I'm looking for otoliths or fish ear bones.
Otoliths, fish ear bones.
That's
Very good. You have some?
I do.
Right down in your magic little bucket
In
there.
the magic buckets. We'll put this on a dark background so you can see these.
And these are the otoliths.
That's right. These are fish ear bones. And we can also use these to identify the species of fish, and we can also use them to help count how many fish were found in a sample.
Thank you very much, Adria and Katie, for your participation. It's been
Thank you,
very
Alex.
delightful.
Thanks.